Guys, welcome back to the Lake Norman Business Podcast Season 3. Excited to have you with us. My name is Danny Decker. I'm here with Ryan Weber, as always. And today we have a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Mike Osborne, the founder and CEO of Ship Transportal. So, Mike, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, Danny. Thanks, bud. Good to be here.
Yeah. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about what you do in Ship Transportal.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ship Transportal is a transportation management company, and we offer brokerage and managed transportation services.
Very cool. So what does that mean?
So what does that mean in English? We move freight. So, if someone's got to get freight from point A to point B, usually it's a larger, manufacturer or distributor. Anyone that's got product, we'll ship it for them. We'll make it easy for them. We'll help them save money.
So you don't actually do the shipping. You find shippers to do this.
Yeah, that's right. We find, vendors, carriers, trucking companies, whoever it may be, whatever service is actually needed, we'll find them. And
how'd you get into that?
Oh man, I needed a job.
I feel like that's not a normal path that people take.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was like it is today for everyone, where they, really grow up pursuing, these great, passionate things that they grow up with. But in all reality, I grew up and went to school and knew I'd get a job in some business, and didn't really know what it was, but got a job at a good company, and really took off. I did a good job there, and enjoyed it.
That's interesting.
Been in it ever since.
That's super interesting. Like, just how people get to where they are. It's like, I didn't really know. I just said, you know what? I'm going to be really good at sending things places.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I did, I hated trucks before I got into the industry, right? So I kind of still do, but
yeah. I've been telling Mike for a while, he's got a book in him. Like you've got a journey, man, and it's one of these days you're gonna have to write that book, and it's gonna be an awesome journey. But before we shift gears here, Mike, just tell us a little bit. So Ship Transporter, like, who are the types of companies you guys serve? Like manufacturers, or who do you guys serve?
Absolutely. Yep. So we service manufacturers and distributors. Usually the size of their company is anywhere from about $10 million to $6 billion in revenue, depending on the service that they want to take advantage of. So if they're just calling us to help them actually literally move something from point A to point B, and that's all they need help with, it could be any size company. Really, it really doesn't matter. But what we prefer to do is have relationships with manufacturers and distributors where we can come in. They're large enough, maybe around $50 million range in revenue, where they've got enough freight where they really need to be worrying about it. They need to be worrying about differentiating themselves in the marketplace through service to their customers, and worrying about the visibility that they provide to their freight. It's that Amazon effect that's out there now. Everyone wants to know where their freight is.
Yeah.
And they have to manage their cost as well. So
yeah,
we help with that, and those are our best customers.
The law firm up here, my wife works for the real estate, and they just got a pizza tracker for where your closing is. So you can basically see like where you are in the closing process, because it's the Amazon effect. It's exactly what you're saying.
It's crazy, isn't it? So,
Yeah, 100%. So Mike, one of the things we're doing here on the podcast is focusing in with each of our guests on kind of one piece of their business that they're really good at, and something they've done really well. And I've been really impressed knowing you over the years with kind of the company culture that you've built amongst your team. And I think it's really noteworthy because you're in an industry where turnover is pretty prevalent, and like it's hard to do what you've done within your industry. So talk to us a little bit about that and how you've approached building a true team in your workplace.
Yeah, and I can tell you it is with great pleasure that I can even sit in this chair and talk to you about that, right? Because that's been a big challenge for us too. And you're exactly right. In our industry, turnover rate is about 70%.
Oh, wow.
And it's really kind of like bring them in, turn them, burn them, and and get them out the door. And it's difficult when your industry is starting there, and it's also difficult when you're in a town like Charlotte, where there's so many options for the younger kids today that they're our typical type of work, or anywhere from like 25 to 35 usually is our age group for our workforce. And so we came into that, and I can tell you I did not do a good job with it starting off. I was actually horrible with it. I probably did everything wrong you could possibly do. And it became a real struggle, and it became obvious to me that if we were going to have a chance to be successful as a business, I had to figure out how to do this and turn it around. And most of it had to do with me changing myself and my approach and the way I was thinking, of our employees and the business as a whole. And really, there was so much pressure on me as a business owner that I expected everyone to carry the same urgency around and want and go after it the same way that I did, and with the same intensity. And that's just not really the way it works. So what we had to do is really go after just creating a place people wanted to come to work and be a part of a special team that meant something to them, and really not just in the cliche, sense. We really needed to change the way people felt about coming to work.
What was that turning point when you became self-aware and was like, I'm not creating the best culture and I want to make this thing different?
Oh man. Well, for a while, it was easy for me to say, well, I hired the wrong person, or I hired the wrong people.
That's what we all say.
Right. Exactly.
It's never us.
It's never us. Right. Until after a while, it's once you realize that it's everybody, right. And then it just,
What's the
it
common
really
denominator? It was
yeah,
me.
exactly. And really, and to be totally honest with you, it was also, getting some feedback, online, like some stuff that came back, on some sites and whatnot. And I was like, well, I didn't say that, or I didn't do that, or whatever. But it's, and the reality, and the thing that hit me hard was, it's not so much like maybe I didn't really say that, or maybe I didn't really do that, but that was a perception. And I just really wasn't aware, because as long as you're someone's boss or the owner of the company, they're not going to share with you everything that they're thinking or seeing. But once they're not, they'll be pretty free to share with you, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a hard way to get it. It hurt. I'll be honest with you. It hurt.
So what does it look like for our listener out there that, owns a business, and maybe they identify a little bit with the idea of like their team doesn't really love what they do and doesn't want to be there? What does it look like to just start like turning that ship around? Like, what are some of the first steps that you took in this turnaround that you've experienced?
Yeah. So, the biggest thing, and the biggest impact that we had really is helping to get someone between me and the staff. So I could be, me and still be the business owner and still have, the urgency and the stress, but try to have someone between me and them to,
a buffer.
I really needed a buffer, right?
I'm like buffer.
That's right. And I really always wanted great things, for the employees, and I always wanted it to be a fun place to live, but the intensity, it's just too much sometimes from the business owner to go right straight to the employees. But getting a good buffer in place, I love, one of the guys that we hired, it was a different hire. Originally, I was trying to hire someone more like me, but it was younger, easier to get along with, more relational, more the same age group. And I thought, man, let's just bring someone in like a, younger, me that can relate more to these guys. And I did that over and over and over again. And that really didn't help. So it wasn't the right buffer. You got to bring the right buffer in, right? So we hired someone that's actually more seasoned than I am, to come in and really kind of, help take care of these guys and implement some of the ideas that we had. So some of the things you talked about, literally creating an open format, in the morning meetings where people can talk about what's going on and give feedback if they're not happy with something. And we leave it in the circle. Like, you bring it into the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, it's over. We're not going to talk about it at the water fountain. We're not going to do anything else about it. We're going to address it, and everyone's going to get better. But we also do cool things like Friday fun day, right? And in those Monday, and that's on Friday. So
okay, what's a Friday fun day?
Now
I need to know.
Friday fun day and that can mean different things, right? And different people are in charge of Friday fun day, so they're in charge of the meeting and what they want to do to make it fun. We try to do other things throughout the week too to make it more fun, like we implemented a toot your own horn Tuesday. Like we want people to get recognition. So just in case, you're almost required to toot your own horn on Tuesday. I was like, come on, share with me, brag about yourself, and give these guys a platform to share. And then they get a lot of support, from everybody in the office.
So did you was the term a morning circle? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so we start every single day off with a meeting, and it's just a stand-up meeting. It's a quick 10, 15-minute meeting. We get in there. We start with a rallying cry, about what it is that we do. So, what we always say is, hey, someone will yell and burn their vocal cords out. They'll say, hey, what do we do? And someone will yell back, we make our customers ship with confidence. So
this is great.
And they yell, and it's funny. It's a good time, and it gets us going. And we've got a guy. He went to school, for like phys ed or something of that nature, and sports medicine or something. So he'll try to get us going with some like very light kinesthetics or something of that nature. Just get the blood flowing if he wants to, and then we'll walk around the room and people will share their successes and what they're doing with their customers and what worked and what didn't work. And we've got one of the biggest changes that we've made recently is, we just took on, this whole challenge of ownership. right? So there was a lot of stuff going on before where, like for me, like what I said, it can't be me, right? So together we took on an effort to identify, hey, what's within our control? Okay, let's look at these things that are within our control, and let's focus on these. Everything else, let's put them up on the board over here. Let's recognize that they're not within control. Now, everything that we are, dealing with that's in our control, what are we going to do about it? And who's going to do something about it? And we leave that up there, and we visit that board on a regular basis.
That's really good. I really like that because so many people want to point the finger to the customer or client or another person, and it's like, well, I can handle this. Like, let's handle this internally, and so our clients don't even know that it's a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So, Mike, have there been any sort of moments over the last couple of years where maybe there's been a I've arrived moment where you've just kind of looked around and been like, wow, like this team is just like, tell me about that. Have there been any just wow moments for you?
There've been a come. They still come. I don't think it's what you would think it would be. But there was a time a couple weeks ago, for instance, where I'm sitting there, I'm working. I work in my office, so I can see through the glass, and the door's usually open. But I can see through the glass the rest of the office. And I look out there. The whole office is dancing. It's like 3:00 in the afternoon, and they're all dancing some crazy dance. I don't know what they're doing. We're dancing crazy, and
that's when you realized I made it.
That's when I realized, this is good.
That's awesome.
Like we're all sober, we're all working. It's 3:00 in the afternoon, and everyone's thrashing and
That's
jumping
too good.
around. It was hilarious. It was great. I'm like, this is good.
So
This is good.
ultimately, right, we all own businesses, and it kind of is all about the bottom line. So tell me this: have you seen any correlation to, as you've built a team culture and employees that love to be there, has that translated in any noticeable way to the product that you guys put out for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the way we try to differentiate ourselves. See, we don't want to just be like a churn and burn organization where, you bring in an inexperienced person and he's just going to work really hard for 8 hours and he's going to be gone. So what we do is we want to add, additional value to our customers by having knowledge in-house, right? By having knowledge and experience with the customers, having knowledge and experience with our products and tools, having knowledge and experience in the industry. And with these guys sticking around, having a good time, like they're becoming so familiar with the customers, so familiar, that they know the customer's business even better than they do in many cases. And when we're able to do that, and we can really gain the support and trust of our customers. Mm-hmm. And so we see, the relationships with our customers have completely changed. It's just everything's got a better vibe to it. Mm-hmm. It's much more relational as opposed to transactional. And yeah, we've seen the business do better as a result of it.
What it sounds like to me, the thing that really stood out is the communication. It sounds like you guys have really good communication from the top down to know what roles and responsibilities, but also vice versa. If they have issues, they probably have somebody that they can go to and make sure that their voice is heard.
Absolutely. And the funny thing about that is we've tried it. It wasn't a secret that you need to have communication about roles and responsibilities. We've always had that, right? But the difference is in the past, it's very structured. Like, hey, here's a chart.
Right.
Here's your role. Here's your responsibility. This is what you do. This is the difference. You're accountable for this. You're responsible for this. And now do it.
Right.
And what's been implemented, it's not that stuff was wrong, but it's what that was missing, right? So what that was missing was, the trust and the familiarity, with the coworkers and each other to be able to share, what their real concern was mm-hmm. and what their feelings were so that it could get addressed. And when we didn't have that type of culture before, it wasn't possible for us to do that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Mike. For our listeners out there who maybe are in a spot where, like, if they're being honest, their workplace is okay. Like, their employees are coming primarily for a paycheck. What would be maybe the starting point? What's the first step for a business owner out there that really wants to transform their workplace in the way that you've been able to transform yours?
Wow, yeah, that is putting me on the spot. So, I guess the starting place is just, trying to understand what your relationship is with your employees, right? Like, get that really clear, and how and what do you want that to be like, and just understand, that these guys want to come in and they want to work hard for you, and and even the way I say it's not even right. They want to work hard. They want to do a good job, right? And you need to be there to support them as much as they're there to support you, if not more. And once you start doing that, then you'll start to create the culture that you want. And it's an ongoing challenge for someone like myself. I'm still like like we just saw, I'm still correcting myself, mentally as I go through this. And I have to do that all the time, but I'm getting a lot better at
It
it.
sounds like it takes a lot of self-awareness. You've got to be
Absolutely.
very self-aware of what you're good at, what you're bad at. And if you're not good at it, you should probably delegate it to somebody that's really good at that.
Absolutely, for sure. And it helps bringing someone in that's naturally good at it too.
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing I've noticed, watching, the manager that we put in place, Tim, is I don't know how many times a day he says this, but he'll say, "Are you okay?
Interesting.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Everything okay?"
Because he'll know if they're not.
Yeah.
If they say yes, but they say it in a certain way, he'll probably know.
And then that
must-
creates, I feel like that creates an awareness that like he really does want to know. And it probably makes him a lot more accessible to your employees, because when you're being asked constantly, "Are you okay?" Like you kind of know that if I'm not okay, I can come talk to you about it, and I'm not like that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
Well,
it works.
And I think kind of one of the bottom line takeaways I got from this, which I think is really good, is that it's not just about creating a culture because it's about warm and fuzzies. Like it's not just you do it because you want to feel good about your business. You do it ultimately, and it creates a better end product for your customers and for your clients. I think that's the most important part of this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing that I can find wrong with having a better culture.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's
Man, our people really enjoy coming to work, and we have had a terrible year. No, I don't
Exactly.
think that's going to happen.
No. I mean, it's great all the way around, and it definitely will end up improving, the bottom line and improving the company, and actually, you get to the point too where it's like, look, what if it didn't improve the bottom line? Put me in this room with these dancing kids, any day of the week, because
It's taking 10 years off your age.
yeah, well, you wouldn't notice by the color of my beard, but yeah, you should have seen it before.
No, that's awesome, Mike. So where can people go to learn more about you and your business?
Absolutely. So they can go to www.shiptransportal.com.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for being here. I think you brought some great value to the table. I appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you. Thanks. Good seeing you, Danny. Nice to meet you. Thank you.